the Lauri Markkanen contract deadline. And it's very interesting. A couple of notes on this Lauri Markkanen trade. And I was talking to sources yesterday around the league and close to the Jazz. The Jazz do expect the Golden State Warriors to come back to them with an improved offer. And the real issue is twofold for Golden State. As I've been told by sources around the league yesterday, the Golden State Warriors are out trying to do several things. One, they have engaged 4 teams on an Andrew Wiggins trade, which would net them in the long run 2 more first-round picks to get to the bar that Danny Ainge has set of a minimum of 4 first-round picks for Lauri Markkanen amongst a trade package. It is interesting, though, how many people are missing the big headline in this trade, and that is that Andrew Wiggins has to be part of this process, because if the Golden State Warriors trade for Lauri Markkanen, they are going to have to renegotiate and extend his contract. What people don't understand are the contract rules. If the Jazz do not trade Lauri Markkanen, they will renegotiate and extend him after August 6th, which means he will be on the Jazz this entire upcoming season, because you cannot trade him for 6 months once he signs a new contract. The trade deadline is February 6th. So if you do not extend him on August 6th, that particular day, you will not be able to trade him this season before the NBA trade deadline. However, if you are Golden State, you do not currently have the cap space to extend Lauri Markkanen. However, if you make a deal that includes Andrew Wiggins, it is very likely you will have the space to renegotiate and extend Lauri Markkanen into the future. And one of the things I think is so fascinating about this Lauri Markkanen contract situation is Lauri Markkanen's making $18 million, and a lot of people throw that number out like it is the important number. It's almost a meaningless number, because Lauri Markkanen is looking for a mid-40s contract, which pays him $43 to $45 million a year. Well, now, how is he going to get there? Well, right now, he's not eligible to sign that kind of contract because he's only making $18 million. So this renegotiate and then extend Lauri Markkanen situation is so critical, because you're going to have to pay Lauri Markkanen likely $30 to $35 million this coming season, because that's the only way he's eligible to get into that mid $40 million per season average annual value kind of extension. So there is a lot of work to do. And a lot of people are wondering why Golden State has not made a trade yet, because they don't have the assets and they don't have the cap space to renegotiate and extend Markkanen, which is a must, because Golden State is not going to give up young talent and their 2 first-round picks without getting a long-term deal in place with Lauri Markkanen. And the only way to do that is to trade Andrew Wiggins. So what I was told yesterday was that the Golden State Warriors have engaged 4 teams, and that they have the possibility of 2 of those teams being a third team in a Lauri Markkanen trade with Utah, Golden State, and a third team, so that they can offload Andrew Wiggins, recoup 2 picks that would essentially be routed to the Jazz, who would then send Lauri Markkanen on to Golden State. Now, I was also reaffirmed yesterday in the belief that Golden State is not trading Jonathan Kuminga in this deal. Now, the problem with that is Danny Ainge, as sources at the Jazz have told me, is pretty much demanding Jonathan Kuminga be part of that deal. And Golden State, make no mistake about it, is the preferred trade partner with the Utah Jazz for Lauri Markkanen. There is no scenario that sees Lauri Markkanen ending up with the LA Lakers, which I continue to hear about. That trade's not happening. Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge are not going to make a deal with the LA Lakers for Lauri Markkanen. You could just write that off. Now, it would be a shocking reversal in the net return on Lauri Markkanen if he were to end up with the Lakers would have to be astronomical to send him there. I just don't see that as a scenario. I am more convinced today than I have ever been that the only trade destination for Lauri Markkanen is the Golden State Warriors, but the Warriors are going to have to find a third team to make a deal with the Jazz, or they will have to trade Andrew Wiggins to create cap space so then they can turn around and make a deal with the Jazz. But let's be very clear. The preferred trade destination for the Jazz and Lauri Markkanen is the Golden State Warriors. And there is no indication that the Warriors have stopped trying to make that happen. In fact, I just think it's the opposite of that. I think the Jazz, if I had to put a number on it, I think I am still probably at 65%. I believe that trade gets done. But I think the only way it happens, Jake, is if Andrew Wiggins is part of that deal.
Well, and I think when you consider what's happened since, the Lauri Markkanen trade situation kind of started, I do think this performance out of top prospect Cooper Flagg at the USA camp, if you're the Utah Jazz, that's something you got to pay attention to. Like, a lot of people, it depends who you ask. Some people say Cooper is just a top prospect. He's not a generational talent. Other people will tell you that the kid's 17 years old and he's tearing up Hall of Famers. And what I'm telling you is that Cooper Flagg for the Utah Jazz would be a phenomenal fit. And if you want to go and get him, you're going to need to get this deal done. And if I'm Danny Ainge and I'm sitting here saying, okay, we're not going to be a championship caliber team this coming season or probably the next 3 seasons, honestly, why would we not move Lauri along, get this deal done, let go of the Kuminga nonsense, and let's go out and make a run at being number 1 in the 25 NBA draft so we can go out and get our boy. Because at that point, what does that give you? In my opinion, what that would give you is a lot of flexibility financially still. Obviously, that'd be a rookie deal for Cooper Flagg coming out of the draft, and you would still retain your flexibility. And at that point, you would not have given up some massive haul to go out and get a player yet. So you'd be able to pair Cooper with a potential all-star that might come available next year. So to me, when I saw that Cooper Flagg performance, the first thing I thought about was, how's that impacting the conversation?
Yeah.
Where's Danny Ainge in the front office? How does that impact their thought process with what they're willing to do to get a marketing deal done? Because
100%.
if you don't want to pay, if we're in a place where we don't want to pay a bunch of money for players right now, and we're basically it's a budget organization right now, then it makes sense to do the marketing deal. Get that deal done. Don't put yourself on the hook for that extension. Be more flexible and then go out and tank for Cooper. Like that to me, at least that to me is logical and makes sense. I don't love that they're tanking, but
I think there is no doubt that indications are the Jazz will put themselves in a position for that top pick. I don't think there's any doubt in it. And I think Cooper Flagg is the right guy to do that. And he is a guy that, I think is this run through the Olympic program, I think has been phenomenal for him. Because it shows that he is very different than Zion Williamson. I think this comparison that we've been hearing so much about is, is he just going to be a bust like Zion Williamson? The difference with Zion and Cooper Flagg is that Cooper Flagg has shown unwavering confidence on and off the floor, and his motor is just so much higher than Zion Williamson's. Now, there are obvious comparisons. They're both high school phenomenons who would be in the NBA if the NBA would allow it. They're both going to Duke. Mm-hmm. But Cooper Flagg has stood tall with every opportunity he's had to go against NBA players, and he's looked really good doing it. I don't think there's any doubt that he is that next generational guy. I don't think there's any doubt, barring injury, that he's the number 1 pick in the upcoming, the draft a year from now. I say upcoming, in the NBA draft a year from now. And this Olympic performance has made a huge deal. But I also think it ties into this conversation about the Utah Jazz turning down 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler, because I can also tell you from sources close to the Utah Jazz, that never happened. The Jazz were never offered a deal, and I believe it was Ian Begley from SNY in New York, who I think is a phenomenal reporter. But he was reporting yesterday that the Jazz turned down 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler straight up. That deal was never offered to the Jazz. I personally don't believe that deal would have gotten done, because I do think that there's a chance Walker Kessler is part of the Lauri Markkanen deal, depending on where that ends up and who values him. But yeah, I don't think it's any secret that the Knicks value Walker Kessler. They need that role filled. But if you called Danny Ainge today and said, hey, here are 2 unprotected first-round picks, give us Walker Kessler, the issue is going to be the Knicks are going to be a deep playoff team next year. How valuable are their future first-round picks? And the answer is not very valuable. And so I think when we hear these rumors that, oh, Danny Ainge is greedy. New York Knicks first-round picks for the next 3 years are probably not going to be very valuable. That's the truth of the matter. You are going to have to give Danny Ainge first-round picks that shore up his ability to get to a guy like Cooper Flagg. Because next year's NBA draft, even beyond Cooper Flagg, is pretty deep. So you're going to want multiple first-round picks in next year's draft. The Knicks cannot offer that at a high level. And I, again, though, want to make this clear. My sources at the Jazz tell me that that deal was never offered. There was never a, here's 2 first-round picks, give us Walker Kessler. That deal was never offered. I would also point out that there is acrimony, there is heat, there is frustration between those two organizations, because I think both sides would tell you they thought a Donovan Mitchell deal was done, and that Leon Rose did one thing and Danny Ainge did another, and they were never able to get themselves together on a Donovan Mitchell deal, and I don't think either one has gotten over that. And obviously the Jazz wound up in a pretty damn good position, especially now with Lauri being likely, 65% likely, rerouted to Golden State. I think the Jazz won in that situation outright. Did the Knicks lose? Well, not necessarily, because Donovan Mitchell hasn't been healthy. But again, I just want to reiterate the point. My sources close to the Jazz have said they never got a straight up 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler deal. So if you sent that on the fax machine, you might want to make a phone call.
Yeah, and I just, again, I think that this Markkanen situation, it does affect what you're going to do with guys like Walker Kessler. Like, I do think that Summer League has shown us a lot with this roster and the young guys that are in this organization. Like I love what Collier is showing us. I think your point yesterday about the Walker Kessler on the floor discrepancies from the regular season to what we're seeing in Summer League, there's definitely a gap there. And I think this coming season, I'm not saying I expect the Jazz to win, but what I am for sure saying is that I expect the Jazz to be much more definitive with their starting 5 and their rotations. I felt like last year there was a lot of, we're going to change the starting 5 and we're going to massage that. And we're going to kind of, swap a lot of guys in and out, withstanding Lauri and, the mainstay guys. So I don't know, man. I would be perfectly fine if you traded Markkanen to go take a run at Cooper Flagg. I would be perfectly fine with that. That makes sense. It's a practical strategy,
I'm a little worried about Cody Williams. I mean, I
athletic for days, but that's not all you need.
He can't shoot at this level.
Yeah.
And it is very rare that you see a guy come into the league who cannot shoot and become a shooter. That almost never happens. And again, I know that Jazz fans lost their minds when I said this before. He is Josh Jackson. And that's not good in a good way. That's not good.
Man, Josh Jackson was so hyped.
And you look at Williams and you look at where he is and you look at his athletic ability. You're exactly right. I mean, that crossover last night to get to the rim, sensational.
Yeah.
But you can't have a guy in this league who cannot shoot. And Cody Williams cannot shoot. He can't. And the biggest problem here for the Jazz on Cody Williams is they're desperate for an athletic wing that can knock it down. I mean, it is almost their singular need is somebody that can be a 2, 3, 4, get to the rim, but also knock down the 3. And I am not convinced he's that guy.
Well, and I think part of that too is the lack of faith that you can develop somebody. I'm concerned that, like, it's not a problem right now per se in Cody Williams' development arc that he can't shoot great right now, right? Because he's a rookie. You just drafted him. Like, every rookie's got issues. The issue is that there's no faith that you can turn him into a serviceable shooter. And so when you're looking at the path the organization's going to take, Cody Williams should definitely be someone that, projects into that exact guy you were talking about. Can get to the rack, can shoot it, is a problem off the wing for the defense. Yeah. But is he ever going to turn into that? Well, not with the Jazz. I wouldn't think so.